hey there, colleague. How in the world are you doing? Today, I'm all speakered up so that I can watch a YouTube video with you from not school world. And all that I'm going to do in this video is try to analyze what's happening in the video pertaining to the 5 key beliefs. The point of this video is it's kind of a fun way for you and me to watch a little video together and simultaneously to deepen our understanding of the 5 key beliefs framework for thinking about and doing something productive about student motivation. So without further ado, today's focus video is from Wired magazine, how this guy mastered fingerboarding in the Obsessed series. This video is super cool. I can't wait to share it with you. So let's just go ahead and get started.
With fingerboards as a kid, but this man turned fingerboarding into his career and lifelong passion.
My name is Mike Schneider. I'm a professional fingerboarder, and I'm the owner of Flatface Fingerboards.
Since he was about 10 years old, he's been building his own fingerboards and customizing his own scaled-down skate parks, and he's been shredding ever since.
All right, and this is why. This is why I picked this video, because this guy at the age of 10 ties into a nuclear power reactor of motivation inside of himself. And I want to look at, so in terms of the 5 key beliefs, do they have any explanatory power for understanding what happened to Mike? And is there any connection to what we do in school? I don't know. Let's check it out. I do know. I know.
Learning a new trick, do you think it's more painful on a skateboard or on a fingerboard?
Learning a trick on a real skateboard is definitely more painful because you can actually get hurt doing it. So I started fingerboarding in 4th grade. I had just started skateboarding shortly before that, and I was totally hooked. It was awesome. And so kids in my 4th grade class had fingerboards, tech decks, and they were playing with them during class and during recess, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, so that's where it all started. A lot of my first fingerboarding was done on books, and we would stack them to make stair sets and stuff like that, so you can be really creative and you can fingerboard just about anywhere.
You might be able to fingerboard anywhere, but Mike has spent most of his life creating the ultimate fingerboard park.
Wow.
He spends well over 40 hours a week surrounded by miniature skateboards and his collection of tiny skate parks.
So again, we've got like top 100th percentile of motivation in this realm of fingerboarding. Where does this come from?
We are in the Flatface Fingerboards building in Drake, Massachusetts. It's basically a huge building full of fingerboard parks. There's at least 25 of them in here, so you can come in and just fingerboard all day long, and it's just an awesome place for people to get together and have fun. The first trick I remember learning was a varial flip. I was trying a kick flip and it kept doing varial flips, so I got really good at varial flips. One big moment that I can remember learning how to fingerboard that was pretty profound was like the first time that I did a kickflip nose slide, because it took me an hour, like straight 1 hour at my desk trying it over and over again, not doing it. And then all of a sudden I did it and I noticed my camera was off. The battery had died, so I didn't even get it on film. But it was more of like, all right, I actually just did this thing that I thought was impossible. And then I realized I could pretty much learn any trick if I just apply myself to it.
Boom. What belief just ignited in the heart of Mike? That belief is the efficacy belief. The absolute best way that you can create the efficacy belief in a human being is letting them succeed at something that they previously thought they could not succeed at. And that's exactly what he's describing there with the kick, nose, flip, varial diagram that he's talking about. But that was the explosion of the efficacy belief. He said, quote, all of a sudden I realized I could do any trick. That's what efficacy sounds like.
There's a lot of really complex tricks that I do, and once I do them, they feel easy afterwards, but it takes a long time to get to that point. So it's kind of always growing and evolving over time.
19 years.
Notice that he's normalized struggle. He's normalized the effort belief. To him, it makes sense that at first when he tries a complex trick, it's not going to work out. But he knows that if he applies wise effort, he can get better and get the trick. That's the effort belief.
of intense practice has given Mike a catalog of tricks that rivals any skater to grace a Thrasher cover.
So the most basic trick is an Ollie, and that's just a simple jump where the board appears to be stuck to your fingers, but it's not. The way that it works is that
Now this is where Mike is pulling an awesome teacher move. He's teaching the tiny little micro actions that go into an Ollie. This is how you and I can cultivate effort and efficacy in our classrooms, making very clear the little micro steps that lead up to something meaningfully good, like successful. So for us, it might be writing a paragraph in an essay, or completing a complex math problem, or running a mile in physical education. For Mike here, it's the Ollie. Take a look.
your middle finger is going to pop the board against the ground, where the board kind of gets momentum from hitting the ground, and then you're basically lifting your hand with it, guiding it, and then...
Now they're doing some creative video work here, but this is another thing that's going to help someone who's watching this. If they really want to try the Ollie, they can see that back and forth. So that's a clear, understandable exemplar, another key move for anyone who wants to cultivate effort and efficacy in their classroom.
And when you've reached the peak and level out, then you just go back down with it. So once you've mastered the Ollie, people usually move on to a kickflip, which is one of these. Basically, you pop it like an Ollie, then you flick it with this finger, which makes the board flip. And then when it's done flipping, you land on it, and then you land on the ground.
Yeah, sure, no problem, Mike. Okay, now, if Mike was going to be a really good teacher, he'd just sit there and stay on the Ollie with his student, right? But then, as the student got the Ollie, then he would build on to this, well, whatever this is called. But notice that Mike has in his mind, as a teacher, a skill progression that builds on itself one after another. And that's so important for you and I. We want to not just follow our curriculum mindlessly, but to follow our curriculum intelligently and to craft it and make clear to students that it's crafted in a way that progressively builds skill. So an example in my classroom, the pop-up debate methodology that we use for discussions, the first skill is just standing up and talking, and then we build up to other things like paraphrase plus, or anticipating a counter argument and dealing with it.
Next, you could learn something like a
Skill
varial
progression
flip,
continues.
which is a kick flip where the board also turns 180 degrees. Then after that, you could do a tray flip,
Of course.
which is a 360 degree rotation plus a kick flip. Instead of popping straight down with your back finger, you're basically scooping it a little as you pop, like that, and that's what's setting the spinning rotation, and then you're flicking it similar to a normal kick flip with your front finger. Then you can
See again how explicit he is right there. What am I doing with each finger? All right, teacher, you're asking me to write a lab report. What am I doing at each part? What does that actually look like?
start turning your whole hand with it. You can do like a front side flip, back side flip, spinning the other direction, big flip, which is like a tray flip with the 180. So there's tons of levels, and then you can combine more and more things together. I could do it.
Now notice right there, he's showing he even still has the effort belief. This is really important for advanced students. Sometimes we give the impression to our students that all you have to do is get the A, and we don't frame our classes as pursuits of mastery. Mastery that even people who win the Nobel Prizes in our fields or get the gold medal in the Olympics, even those people see that there are more levels to grow. That's the true effort belief, okay? It's not just for your students who aren't putting forth any effort and are struggling with skill. It's for your students who aren't putting forth any effort and are kind of comfortable at their skill level. Mike's just growing. He's growing.
Kick flip to late impossible. So an impossible where you wrap it around your finger, but I can do like a kick flip first. I got it first try.
Yeah, it's hard to believe it's so hard when you're making it look so easy.
That's the thing, once you learn it, it's not really that hard, but until you get to the point where you can do it, it's super hard. If I invent a trick, I'd probably name it Rhombus after my cat.
All right.
Just like real-life skating, Mike is constantly pushing himself to master new tricks.
Once you have all kinds of tricks you've learned, you can incorporate them onto different elements of different skate parks, doing tricks in different combinations, so the possibilities are endless. When I want to learn a new trick, I pretty much just go for it. Fingerboarding and skateboarding.
Now, right there, I think what's a little bit happening is Mike is talking about one of the things he really values about fingerboarding, and he values the infinite novelty inside of the discipline. He values that there's endless possibilities. So I can take that Ollie kickflip that I'm doing there just on the table, and now I can try it with this type of object or this type of object. And Mike values that. And that's the value belief.
Are both kind of trial and error and just learning what doesn't work in order to learn what does work. So you have a vision of how you think a trick should be done, and each time that you try it again, there's a slight adjustment. So you might be moving one of your fingers into a different spot, or faster or slower, a different angle, and all that kind of stuff comes together. And then you'll notice that you're either getting closer and closer to landing it, or you're getting farther from it, and then you can keep adjusting. A lot of times when...
Now, right there, he's describing the process that he uses for receiving feedback from the practice that he's doing. That's another important part of the efficacy belief, is you need some feedback on your pursuit of mastery in order to keep growing in mastery. So there, Mike is letting the objects in front of him give him the feedback. Oh, the board did this. And he's just sharing with us how he interprets the feedback that he's receiving to continue to grow in mastery.
When I have a trick in mind, I kind of have a spot in mind for it. Some of them are pretty specific, and then other times, if it's something more basic, you can really do it anywhere, which is cool. It's still crazy to me, even though I've been doing it for so long, that I built what I built and that I made the boards and everything. Like when I'm using a board that I made, on one hand, I'm used to it, but on the other hand, it's like, wow, I really made a board that I think, at least for me, it works better than any other fingerboard. So it's really satisfying in that way.
Wow. Not really sure what's going on there.
In his quest for the ideal fingerboard, Mike decided to just...
Yeah, so at this point, the video gets into him making fingerboards, which is super cool and interesting, but I really just wanted to focus on what we just watched. And you notice there at the end, when they showed the picture of the fingerboard studio that Mike has and like all the people in there, that right there is the belonging belief. There's a sense of community, a sense of shared experience when these people come together around a little fingerboard arena and they start doing their little things. So that's also a cultivator of motivation. It's a belief that drives motivation. So the questions for us, for you, colleague, for me, is how do I take these things that I see in this video about a fingerboarding obsessed guy, and how do I help all my students to just move a little bit more down the road towards being obsessed, small o, obsessed with world history or computer science or whatever you're teaching, maybe some agriculture. How do I help all of my students to gain a little bit more motivation? And I do it by cultivating the 5 key beliefs. So I hope this video is helpful. If it was, share it with a friend, because everyone needs a little more fingerboard videos in their life. Take care.